Namaste. We're here once again with Gautam ji in the Living the Teachings of Sai Baba series. Gautam, thank you for giving us your time. Gautam, today I would like to talk to you about a very important subject which is very centric to Baba's path, where many devotees get messages from Baba, some guidance, and there are few ones like I which are authentic. The larger numbers are inauthentic. So I wanted to probe into this just so devotees get pointers on what to look for within themselves and someone they go to, why they should go, or why are they going. So I would like to talk to you about that.
Sure. Nick, this is actually a question which has many aspects in its answer. It's not black and white.
True.
So we have to explore it in various ways. See, there are channels, like you said, of Sai Baba, right? Those who get messages, who are connected to Sai Baba. Now, frankly, it depends on their level of honesty. Are they honest with themselves? Now, for example, I go through a phase of life where I am feeling so deeply connected with Sai Baba that I get messages. And I get messages for people. But it could also happen that sometimes those messages are not flowing freely. Yet I give messages to people. Because now I am identified with a role. I am a channel of Sai Baba, people are coming to me. It has happened to me also, not with a channel of Sai Baba, but a channel of another master, where it is very clear when a message is coming from the source and a message is coming from the higher mind of that individual. That can be clearly seen. So in that sense, it is a disservice to the person in front of you if you are a channel of Sai Baba, but your higher mind is being channeled. Now, unfortunately, this is most likely not even conscious. Sometimes the channel is not even aware that I'm channeling my own higher mind. It's possible. So, what does this mean? This means that what is meant to happen will happen based on the destiny of the person who goes to someone to receive a message. What we are trying to point out here is that there is no absolute truth in determining who is the right channel and who is not. It is a very individual experience. I may see someone smoking and drinking away as an extreme example who gives me the most beautiful messages from Sai Baba. Now what? Do I keep my judgments of personality aside and take what comes to me because I resonate with it? That can also happen. In fact, I am aware of this happening. I am aware of someone who is a channel of Sai Baba, and if you looked at his personality, you would be astonished. But then people swear by the messages. You see? So this is what I mean. There are various aspects. But the intention rests with the channeler, not the person going for the channel.
I beg to disagree here a little bit. See, over here, even the intention, I can't say intention because there's no free will in the matter. But when someone goes to a channel, if you are the kind of a person that will go from A to B to C like an astrologer, now comes the time to question yourself also that A, why are you going? And to look within. Because if you are inauthentic, you will wind up going to people like that. That is the thing I also want to probe. The other aspect of the channels.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, so on this, sorry.
You see, what happens is, we use channelers as a crutch. Anything small happens in a life, we go running for a message. This is a equation of dependency. Now this also can get abused by the channeler.
Exactly.
I know someone who had a tarot reader as a guide, and for any small thing she would call the tarot reader. Now the tarot reader should also have the awareness that this is becoming a relationship of dependency and put an end to that.
Correct.
But that did not happen because they like it. They like the importance, they like the dependency, and they get money.
Exactly, and you see the difference between a guru and a channel is very different. Like, see, I in all humility says I'm the dust of Baba's feet. She doesn't claim she's Baba or a guru.
Right.
But unfortunately, many of the channels then take the role of the guru, and then that devotee of Baba's takes them to be a master, which they are not.
Yes, that
This is
so
a big
true.
mess.
Yes.
I don't mean to hurt anyone's sentiments,
Right.
but you cannot confuse someone who gets messages of Baba as Baba or a guru, and then that depletes them, or they don't even seek for a master in that case.
Yes. You see, it's a very important point you have raised, because there is only one word which comes up: humility. The hallmark of a guru is humility. If that is missing, then a guru is not a guru. I would use the same measure for a channel. Absence of humility is a good indicator to know who is an authentic channel. You see? But make no mistake, I might still have quirks in my personality which you don't like.
Yes.
But humility could be there.
Correct.
So that is to be discerned by the person going to the channel.
Correct.
So you mentioned a very beautiful example of I, because I have personally met her. And for me, she is the embodiment of humility. You see, someone who does not want to be put on a pedestal, who does not want to be known in the society as being so and so. These are signs of humility. In fact, I would go as far to say, as if that person is not concerned with whether one person shows up at their door or 1,000, that is a sign of humility. You see? So, one very important part of this which I'd like to comment about is that the guru is nothing but the higher self of the disciple. My mother, for example, saw this in her meditation. She saw the higher self come out of the person and project itself onto another individual, which took the form of the guru. It was actually seen how the guru manifests, and that guru ultimately points the disciple to the Satguru within. That is the mechanism of the process. Now, this is a very subtle process, and this process is a process of honoring, because you see, the guru does not consider the disciple to be a disciple. A true guru does not say, I am your guru. A true guru will not do that. Someone asked my own spiritual guide, are you my guru? And he said, that is for you. If you feel you are my disciple, then I am your guru. I cannot tell you I am your guru.
I feel with the master disciple or devotee relationship, actually it's no relationship, they are one.
Yes.
The problem is with the channels, there is this up and down where the channel goes on the pedestal and there's dependency, and then it's almost like control that comes in, which is missing when it's a real master you go to.
Yes.
Where there is actually no relationship, it is just oneness.
Absolutely. And this, what you have pointed out, it can even happen in other domains, like for example, therapy.
True.
Which is so big in the West.
Yeah.
The therapist can end up controlling the patient.
So now I want to probe in here. Suppose you come to someone, like I have met so many people, and I will share my own experience. I have met so many people, some I have featured, some I have not. But it is a very tricky thing. Like, see, in my case, I go as a publisher, I put my cards on the table that I don't want any messages, I'm coming just for work, and I go out, which is fine. But I can see so easily that it can become a very controlling relationship, because there are certain expectations, or like there is a certain framework of conduct that is unsaid.
Yes.
So if a devotee goes to somebody like that, and it does become like and they give them good messages that happen, like some experiences happen, now the devotee gets his validation that this is right. But when they see that, okay, on one side you are getting these messages, but on the other side there is control, could you give pointers now how they manage that? Because it's a difficult one for most people.
According to me, is even the slightest hint of an issue of control is a good enough reason to run away from that relationship. Because the sage has the absolute conviction that nothing in his control is possible. The sage knows that his next breath is not in his control. The sage knows that he is on earth because of gravity, which is not in his control. The sage knows that there is absolutely no control over what the next moment brings. Therefore, it is not possible for the genuine sage to even control any individual one iota, because his own living understanding is that there is a higher power. So if one does sense this control issue stepping into a dynamic, it is a very clear sign that this is not an authentic relationship. Yes, as you said, the function of the relationship would be to get the message, and it might be a very appropriate message. But then this is the role, and this role ends there.
Yes.
This role ends there. This dependency on the channeler to play a role more than that is doing injustice to both channeler and person coming to the channeler.
And Osho said something beautiful. He said, see, to misguide someone on the spiritual path is worse than committing murder, because if you kill someone, you kill them once. But if you misguide someone spiritually for lifetimes, they can go astray.
Yes.
So people must be aware. Like, I'll give you my own example. There are so many people who write to me. So someone had recently got in touch that they wanted to meet Baba, and we were in contact for that specific reason. All of a sudden, from nowhere, I get this message saying, Baba has said this for you, that in your past life you were this particular individual with Baba so-and-so, which I knew was not true, and 10 other things. So I very politely said, see, only reason for contact was for this particular work. I respect that you had the sentiment to share it, but I did not ask for it, and I would please request you, don't bring this up with me again. And we lost contact after that. But this thought struck me that if this was someone else and you get such information, this is very misguiding. And especially when you've not asked for it. Because there is this control that I have got the message and I am saying this to you. So this I do feel...
you are absolutely right, Nick, and unfortunately a lot of this does happen. But the only word of caution I have here is keep a lookout.
Yes.
Now, if someone tells me that I was Sai Baba's closest disciple in his life, what happens? I feel good.
Exactly.
I feel, wow, I am special.
Correct.
You see, so these are actually markers to be careful.
Absolutely.
Because what does it boil down to? Does that really matter? Or your life in this moment, does that matter?
Absolutely. And Bhagwan Ramar said that it is God's grace you don't remember the past, for if you did, you would be finished.
Exactly.
So then why dwell into that? And I think it's a matter of shame if I were told you were with Baba, because of Baba's stature, to not realize and come back is not really a very good thing.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
But you see, that's why I do hope this is not happening, and as you said, mixing up a channeler for a guru, because I'll tell you why.
It is.
You see, the word guru itself means remover of ignorance.
Yes.
Guru does not mean giver of messages.
Correct. Absolutely.
Remover of ignorance.
Yes.
Guru itself means spiritual weight.
Yes.
It actually is a meaning of the word guru.
Yes.
It means heavy.
Yes.
Heavy in terms of spiritual weight.
Yes.
Guru is one who shines a light on your path, a path of darkness, of Maya, and the Guru is like the radiant sun. Now, these attributes are very different from a channeler. The channeler's role is channeling, an authentic channeling. The Guru's role is different. So, definitely, if one is taking a channeler to be a Guru, all what we have talked about are pointers to look at. Because these are actually separate functions, and if they merge together in one, then what would it mean if you accepted someone as your guru and the guru did not even give you one message? That is still your guru.
Absolutely.
Now, are you okay with that, or are you running after guru who only gives messages?
Usually it's the reverse, where they empty you, they don't give you anything. See, I spoke to Baba about this, Guruji, and we had done a film on the Satguru, because Baba very clearly said a living master is essential. There's no question of not having a living master on the spiritual path. And I asked Baba, I said, one apprehension I can sense in devotees is how do they know if they are going to a right guru or no? So Baba uses a term TV gurus, where they want publicity and all. So he said there is one thing you have to look for when you go to a real master. He has no need for you. The master has no worldly interest. They have no need to get people around. Unlike the TV gurus, what he uses that term. So this is also something, two aspects actually I see, that when one goes to a master, to really realize that the master doesn't need you, so if there is humility in the devotee to go and present themselves at the master, but this is not the case in most cases.
Yes, but more importantly, there is no such thing as the wrong guru also, because every experience is a learning. Every experience will point you in the right direction.
Yeah, for where you are at, you will have an experience like that.
Correct, But coming back to this point, the devotee needs to be very clear whether he or she is looking for a channeler of messages or a guru. And in case he finds both in one body-mind organism, then he has now a set of criteria, you could say, to understand whether does this channeler also fulfill this role of being a guru.
One other thing I would like to probe on is, it's a matter of shame to say this. There are thousands of people who wrote to me that they would like to meet I and so and so, and I made it very clear in the beginning that because of her health, she is not, I have literally had to plead her to talk because she had no interest in talking on camera. But literally I had to plead her to speak, which she did. Now we don't do anymore because her health doesn't permit. But I must say, out of the thousands of emails I've got, maybe 2 or 3 people asked about her health and offered to help her. So what I would also like to say is that if you go to an authentic channel or a master, anybody who guides you on the path, it is important to look after their welfare. That does not mean give them money or do anything in that sense, but to have that, at least be bothered about how they are. It's not about just going there and I want and give me this message. But those are the ones I have seen, the few ones that really care about either their master, or I would say, I don't like using the word channel. When you come to someone like I who's authentic, they are instruments of Baba. Then to take care of them because they are Baba's instruments. They're very precious, very rare firstly. But I see most people are like, and they come with a sense of entitlement that ask I to do this. Baba and I are not your servants. So very few, and those are the ones that actually then get called and get the time. Baba arranges that. Right. So I just want to give this as a pointer that you look within yourself, that they don't need you. They don't need you to come there and, but to at least have that thing to look for their welfare and to be considerate about that. Robert Adams was very emphatic about this. He said the ones that take care of the master's welfare, because the master in most cases has no semblance of their body at all, those are the true devotees, and those are the ones that make most progress, because they give up everything of their own and take care of the master. But this is very rare to see.
It is very rare, and it is a very important point as well as an important pointer.
Yes.
You know, my own spiritual guide and guru, Ramesh Balsekar, he lived till the age of 92. And for 2 weeks, he was in the hospital before he passed away. So I went for 5 minutes because one doesn't want to disturb someone, right? And one couple from abroad had come. So they came into the room. So I told Rameshji that I'll take your leave. So he said, no, you wait for 5 minutes. So I waited, and this couple was there. And they said, oh, Rameshji, we came from the US to see you. So sorry to see that you are in hospital like this. And the lady even shed tears, you know. So then I felt now it's the time for me to leave. Again, I excused myself, and he said, no, just wait. You won't believe it, Nikhil. The next instance, they started talking about the problems, that this person did this to me, I have a land property dispute, what are your views? And I was saying, my God, this man is 92, he's in hospital, his eyes are closing. That is the Maya. And Ramesh, being Ramesh, was actually answering them because of compassion.
Exactly.
You see, that is the load we put on to the Guru.
Yeah.
So what you have mentioned is just, I'm giving you one example. Now, what happens to us ordinary people? We'll take care of our parents. We'll take care of our children. Because, why? They are me and mine. Now the Guru is God in human form. This is what not only our scriptures say, but masters have said. And if the thought does not even arise, that how can I be of service to my Guru? How can I look after him? Yes. That means I have not accepted this fundamental relationship of the Guru and the disciple. I still view it as a relationship where I want to get something from the relationship. That is a real unfortunate situation. Wanting to do seva for the Guru should arise spontaneously. Siddha Rameshwar Maharaj has even said that even the dog in a Guru's house should be treated with respect.
Exactly.
You see, you may not like dogs.
Yes.
But the Guru principle is the Guru principle. So, as you rightly said, you may be getting thousands of emails, which is understandable because people are suffering so much. They are so kind of taken up by their situation that that thought even doesn't arise that how can I be of service. Rare is the one in whom that thought arises, and that expression of that thought is actually what takes the disciple very far. To even just express that what can I do? How can I help? Can I be there? There's a famous disciple of Ramana Maharshi who took such good care of him. I've forgotten his name. And Ramana said, that this man has reached the end of his destination by just doing the seva.
Yes. There was one man with Bhagwan Raman who would just wave that punk on him for 50 years. They never spoke. One day he just dropped dead and Bhagwan said he's not coming back.
Beautiful.
Service.
Yeah.
Guruji also says the same thing, that service to the Guru is higher than any sadhana.
And service can take many forms, depending on one's ability. You could help serve the Guru with spreading his teachings in some way, and giving money if he requires money, and taking care of his physical health, being in his proximity. There are various ways, and one chooses the way which one is naturally inclined to, right? I would like to backtrack a bit just to complete one point on the genuine Gurus. Because in India, we have a big tradition of touching feet. as a mark of respect. Now, a genuine guru will not care a damn whether you touch his feet or not. Siddha Rameshwar Maharaj was asked once, how do you feel when people touch your feet? And he replied, saying, don't ask me, ask my feet. What have I got to do with it? You see, that is the thing. So I brought this up because it is part of our tradition. Now you see, some people view bowing down before someone as subjugation, giving your control over. Actually, touching the feet is a very beautiful ritual because one is offering one's ego at the feet of the master and the master's consciousness. One is actually offering the thinking mind of the ego and its identifications at the feet of the source. That is the significance. Secondly, it is known that energy which emits from the feet is the highest form of spiritual energy. That is why some masters even don't allow you to touch their feet because they don't want their energy drained. That is why when a master passes away, you will see photographs taken of the feet. That is why padukas are worshipped, not because, oh, he wore these as slippers, because the energy of the master is actually soaked into those padukas. So the feet are very crucial in that sense. But beware of a master or his disciples who make you touch his feet forcefully. I have seen this because I have had someone come to me who ran away from an ashram in Nasik because they forced him to touch the feet of the master and he was very uncomfortable. So he ran away from there. So there are no such rules, when a genuine master will not care. So whenever you see these things happening, you have to see, what it is. I'll give you another example, not related, but in another way. I forget, I think it was Swami Chidanand or someone. He was called to give a pravachan. And when he arrived, he was shocked because he saw that there was a big crowd, but he was just given a very thin chadar on which to sit and a mic was placed there. So he was at the same level as the crowd. So in the front row were various swamis. And he could hear them saying, now we will see Chidanand's ego coming up. So he walked in front and he said, how dare you make me sit on the same level as the disciples who have come, the crowd which has come. So the swamis are very happy. They've proved that this guy has an ego. He can't sit on the same level. Chidanand was no fool. He first insisted that a raised platform be put. Once it was done, he sat on it, and the first thing he said was that I know many of you in the audience must have thought, look at this man's ego, he wants to sit on higher ground than us. But I only wanted to point out one thing to you. It is not me as an individual on the higher ground, it is the teaching coming through me. That must be respected. You see? So he was giving a very important message that respect the teaching. The master is an instrument. Respect the teaching. How many of us are respecting Baba's teaching? I'm coming back to that, what we started out with. And how do you respect a teaching? By living it. Simple.
Talking of that, Gautam, just on the closing note, the authentic channels of Baba or the mediums, the instruments, I would say, of Baba, through which messages come through, they are very rare. But then it is also the responsibility of those who go to them to take care of them. And by care, I don't mean financial care or something, but at least be respectful of their time, their energy, and not to respect those boundaries, not go with a sense of entitlement.
Yes.
Because if they may not be gurus, but they are instruments of Baba, and respecting them is then respecting Baba.
That is extremely important also because you see, unfortunately, Nick, we are so blinded by our suffering and our problems that all that goes out of the window. You know, we are just wanting to hold on to them because we see that they are possible instruments to save us from our misery. So it's not really, no one can be blamed. But as you said, one must go with more awareness. Because after all, the channels are also taking out their time.
Yeah. They have their
Their
own
energy.
families, their
You see?
responsibilities.
I mean, it's not an easy task.
Yeah, and in most cases, I have seen when a message comes through, it's physically like a bolt of lightning that hits them. See, it's not the imaginary ones who claim this message, but when I or anyone that I have met on a channels a message from Baba and that energy comes, it's a shock on their system.
Yes,
So
it is
to-
draining.
Yeah,
And don't forget, it is not for themselves.
Exactly,
It is
it's
for the
compassion.
others.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yes, the underlying principle is compassion.
Yes. So even we, people who visit them, must have that sensitivity to be respectful of their time
Yes.
and just make sure that it's not taken for granted or, they are not trampled on in any way.
Yes, because imagine an authentic channel of Sai Baba who's got a timid disposition, who's gentle. Now, such a person may find it hard to tell someone in front of them that, look, I had said 45 minutes and 45 minutes is up, because it's not their nature.
This is true.
You see?
Yeah, this is absolutely
Someone else's nature. I know someone who's very clear that reading is for 45 minutes and 15 more minutes is this much extra.
Yes.
Everyone is not like that. So someone like, for example, I know because I am of a gentle, timid disposition. If someone comes to see me, it's very hard for me to stop it at 45 minutes or 1 hour, whatever, and say, look, now I have to do other things, because you feel so much for the person in front of you. So, as you said, a high degree of awareness of those going to such channels is really the least you could do.
Exactly.
To see that you're not stepping over boundaries, you're being sensitive, and you're understanding that there's a world beyond your world of misery and suffering.
Absolutely. Because I has said, no, she said one of the reasons I don't want to see anyone, she said 1 out of 1,000 that come here really love Baba. Most of them just come for their own problems, and Baba is not your servant where you come and say, oh Baba, do this for me, do that for me. Who are you to demand anything? So she says the ones that love Baba, very rare. And what's worse is they come with no consideration for her health and time, and they'll sit there for hours and complain. And she said, see, I am not Baba. It exhausts me. It exhausts me physically, it drains me. And she said some of their problems are genuine, like someone's child is ill. So she says, don't you think I don't feel that pain? So she says, every day imagine if 100 people come to
Absolutely.
you and they dump all their problems on you.
Yeah.
The emotional pain and turmoil it causes for me. So she says, this is one of the very clear reasons why I don't see anybody anymore.
You see, if we get a bit abstract, I'll tell you something. My mother, in one of her meditations, one lady came before the meditation and was suffering, obviously, and talking about her childhood. The various incidents in childhood which were really disturbing and all, right? She poured her heart out on this disturbed childhood. In the meditation, my mother actually saw a small baby come out and fall at her feet. Why I'm saying this is, thoughts have a form. We cannot see it, we don't have that vision. That is why they say be careful of negative thoughts, because all thoughts have a related form. Now, can you imagine someone like I being bombarded by various thought forms which are primarily negative, thoughts of suffering? That is what they are receiving. It's just that with these eyes of duality, we cannot see it. Someone with the eye of singularity can have visions of that. So she must be going through a lot because she is at the receiving end. So we have to be sensitive about these things. If you ask me, the best guru or channel is the one where you say all your problems and the only answer you get is silence.